You see the title, and this has been long overdue. Uh, I've talked about the fake outrage in which New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees said some comments that were everybody came out the woodwork. This is a man, a Caucasian man, that has taken millions of dollars out of his pocket, his own pocket, in efforts and reliefs in a high populated area of African Americans in the city of New Orleans for all type of initiative programs, especially very visible during the Hurricane Katrina tragic event. Took multiple millions of dollars out of his own pocket in those relief efforts. And I'm not going to get into what Drew Brees said. We know what he said, which I don't find offensive at all. Didn't find offensive at all. Not one iota did I find what he said offensive. But here, let's get to the man of the hour, Mr. Steven Jackson, PAT's finest. Steven Jackson came under fire after making a tirade against black women, giving us a snapshot into his inability to choose women, most notably black women, having different children, having 5 baby mamas. I think he said he regret having relations with 2 or 3. Said he wished he never met them. And I've talked about quality versus quantity in the so-called black community, folks. I've talked about this to ad nauseum. Don't be fooled. Just because someone has deep pockets doesn't make them quality. See, with Steven Jackson, he's part of the problem in terms of building and shedding a different light on the so-called black community. Here he is protesting, calling out Drew Brees for what he thought was insensitive remarks in a time in which his friend, in fact, he called him his twin, George Floyd, his twin. Now, 2 things about these brothers. Both bearers of illegitimate children, further causing the issues, the stereotypes amongst black men, and continuing to make those things in error, to continue to promote that by having multiple baby mamas by black women. So Steven Jackson, he calls out Drew Brees over those comments. But here, this Negro, in pretty much the same breath, not even a month before, blatantly called out black women. Bitter black women. I had to listen again because sometimes I didn't want to see if he just said bitter women. No, he said bitter black women. But now Stephen Jackson is the poster child for black protests, black accountability, Black Lives Matter. He's become a very vocal in this. But yet no one has talked about his tirade, not even a month a month and a half ago, calling out black women, calling you bitter, saying he wish he never laid down with you. That that black bitter women are just a big of a problem as police to black men. I mean, come on now. Now this fool is leading the charge when in fact his actions are one of the major factors in why black men find themselves in those positions, like George Floyd, like Rayshard Brooks. That type of mentality in which Stephen Jackson chooses to engage in is the very problem. The very problem. Think about it. This is a guy, you know what? I'll go and say this. Say you have one illegitimate child. You're 18, 19. Okay, chalk that up. You don't do it anymore. You take care of that child. Okay. You in that child's life. Okay. This is a guy with all the money, and this goes in with simping. Don't let these guys with these $1 million, these guys at 6'4", 6'5", athletes, tattoos, these guys are really simps. They really are. And I've talked about, black men and our inability to restrain ourselves sexually to where we feel we have to knock everything down. Many times we use sex as a medium to kind of fill the void of being in their mind, not Painless's mind, powerless. So we overindulge in sexual activity with whomever. And Stephen Jackson is just one of millions of black men that decide to do that engage in this everyday behavior. Because five baby mamas, folks. Like, brother, you didn't get it on the second round. You didn't tighten up your stilo, the second baby mama. And these are the type of brothers that go out and argue with police. That type of narcissistic behavior is why black men find themselves in positions of arguing. A man shouldn't argue. Me and my daddy talked about this the other day. He said, you know what, son? The only reason I would remotely, closely even act the way in which these men just acted just willy-nilly is if I knew I didn't do anything wrong. If I was coming from the gym on a Thursday evening, coming from the gym, pulled over, I got my gym bag, my insurance and registration is to date, my driver's license isn't expired, I wasn't speeding, I wasn't doing anything that warranted any type of stoppage by said police. That would be the only way I would even remotely come close to getting belligerent and out of character. Because when you know you haven't done nothing wrong and someone is pinning something on you, that makes, we're human, that makes you a little, makes you feel a certain type of way. But we decided that, compliance would be the best course of action to take. So you can get your ass on your way. Now, the problem with George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks, well, Mr. Floyd had intoxicants in him. Mr. Floyd resisted in some sense. Does that warrant what happened to him? No. I've spoken on that. I'm not even going to go into that. Those are two factors. Now, hence, what my father and I discussed is we just coming from the gym. We haven't come from no bar. We haven't gone and used supposed counterfeit monies to get things. We just coming from the gym. George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, intoxicated over the legal limit, and you expect myself to march and protest over somebody that was drunk, decided to get jiggy, and lost his life? No. Obviously, Stephen Jackson does. But we see the pedigree of Stephen Jackson. His inability to control his sexual urges. Uses that in absence of what he perceives as being powerless. Look, Payless, let me just say this. I am not Rayshard Brooks. I am not George Floyd. You know what? Miss me with that shit. I do not like to be labeled that. Look, to all my non-black people, do not walk around looking at black men as, wow, that could have been, you know what, Payless, you could have been. You know what? Miss me with that. Because what you're doing, you're saying I'm Stephen Jackson. I'm not Stephen Jackson. I don't think I'm powerless, and then I go out and lay with 5 different women, have at least 5 illegitimate children, and then get on social media, black women, I'm talking to you, and put your ass on blast. Now this fool is supposed to be the riding in and being the spokesperson for black injustice when he's part of the goddamn problem? No, If anybody I tell you what, black folks, you make Stephen Jackson apologize to black women just like y'all did Drew Brees. And what Stephen Jackson said was way more inflammatory than anything that Drew Brees said. Call a spade, no pun intended. Woo! And I'm just being honest. You gotta call things for what they are. Illegitimacy, quality versus quantity. Tons of black men roaming around her, but the quality. This is a guy that got on social media And I noticed there's a pattern of crying black men online. It all started off with Tyrese. Tyrese, same problems. Women problems. You know what, Palin? You know what? Payless, I'm not dealing with, no, I'm not, you would never find me in a position like this whatsoever. Nope. See, I can feel voids in my life. Like I'm doing things. I'm at the gym. I'm doing content now. I'm back up running with content. I read. I cook my own meals. I don't need a woman. Would it be nice? No. But to deal with the way these brothers have dealt with women, and it just shows you the types of women that these brothers decide to impregnate and then want to complain about and cry about. Steven Jackson, he didn't cry, but he might as well have. The way he was whining and complaining about black women, I'm talking to you. Tyrese, crying, breaking down, getting that money, getting them pockets, rabbit ears. That's what these women are doing to you. And I'm saying you made that bed, literally, you laid in it, you're going to have to deal with it. But yeah, Steven Jackson don't get a pass. If Drew Brees don't get a pass, Steven Jackson don't get a goddamn pass. Now this fool's out here on black issues and all this stuff. But month and a half ago, bitter black women are just as worse as police killing cops. Can you believe? Oh, I mean, this shit it's hilarious. The narcissism in this. And these are the type of see, I'm what I'm doing is I'm showing how black men run into these situations with police and their inability to control themselves sexually in what they perceive as being powerless. So I'm just going to sling you know what all over the place. And that's, in the so-called black community, I can attest for this. This is a big, this was what goes on. How many can you knock down? We ain't got nothing, a pot to piss in or the window to throw it, but I'm out here knocking them down. And I look at these brothers and I say, you know what? It's a damn shame. Like I said, I give you a pass if you're 18, 19. You really, with all the information now, you don't really get a pass at that age. But if before social media, before we knew what was going on, you look, I'm going to just say this. If you're 43 years old and you up here getting a 23, 24-year-old pregnant and y'all don't have any type of compatibility, but you just knocked her down, you didn't strap up, you didn't pull out, now you paying this 24-year-old chick child support and you're 43 years old, and you don't have a goddamn car, you're taking the bus, nothing wrong with that, by the way. But if you're out here doing those type of activities, out here raw dogging at 43 years old, skeeting up in all these women, you don't need to be riding the bus. You need to get your ass a car. When you're a goddamn part-time dishwasher at Golden Corral, then you're running over to AutoZone, picking batteries for people, doing diagnostic tests on vehicles, and you're only bringing home Shit. You only bring home $800 every 2 weeks before taxes. Now you got a child on the way at 43 years old with a 24-year-old chick that probably works at Arby's. That's the fucking problem in the so-called black community. That type of irresponsible shit like that. And then these same men, that same 43-year-old brother runs into a situation with police and flips the fuck out because of whatever reason. Because it's been demonstrated he doesn't know how to make good decisions, or he wouldn't have knocked up this 24-year-old chick that works at Arby's. He's 43 years old. And this is a true story, by the way. FYI. Oh, painless. You pulling that out? No, that is a true story. That is very factual. Even down to the damn companies I said they work for. So, this type of mentality is what gets brothers mowed down. And you want Drew Brees? Steven Jackson gets a pass? I think it's safe to say if this brother didn't have millions of dollars, he would just be another dusty Negro like the one I just described, out here working 2 part-time jobs with a baby on the way. Oh, by the way, that 43-year-old has 3 other children. Painless out.